Alright, so My Hero Academia has returned, and with it, we have another chapter targeting our emotions. With the previous chapter, we had the standoff between Deku and Class 1A as he refused to return with them. Deku would then kick things off with a use of smokescreen, as Bakugo would clear things up just as quickly with his landmine blast. From here, we would have several attempts at restraining Deku to no avail. He refused to lose them to All For One, and so from his perspective, he could not afford to go with them. They would expend every resource available to them and even new super moves we'd never seen before. But even still, Deku would break free from every binding attempt. However, he would have his mask removed to reveal the flood of tears streaming down his filthy face, as he would then crash into a pillar of ice erected by Shoto that was bigger than even the neighboring skyscrapers. In the end, they refused to let him live like this alone anymore. With this latest chapter, nearby we had Kirishima, Invisible Girl, and Oyama handing Dictator off to Endeavor, as following Bakugo, Todoroki, and Momo's combined capture of him, Kirishima broke him out of the ice for transport. Endeavor from here would immediately recognize the villain and make a point that he may not be by his lonesome here, and that they furthermore needed to confirm that the anti-hero civilians were all safe alongside Hawks and the others, as just then, from his communicator, it would be the voice of Hawks telling him that leaving Deku's capture to Best Jeanist would ultimately lead to a far quicker resolution. And he wasn't wrong about that at all. Deku is so tired that if Best Jeanist could restrain a drowsy Gigantomachia, it is very likely that he would be able to do the very same with Deku. But with that, Kirishima would remove his mask while saying that all of his friends have such flashy moves that his help may not be necessary. However, he couldn't help but feel a bit frustrated, as there were plenty of things he still wanted to say to Deku. And the decision here to have him off with these two makes sense, I suppose, considering they are not straight up fighting him right now. So in regards to cooperation moves, he may not be able to do much for a capture mission like this. But yeah, they would run off, as Endeavor would convey to Hawks that from this point, the students wouldn't be a hindrance to them. So yeah, as we had surmised back before the war arc had even begun, the kids would take up the mantle as society's protectorate, and that is certainly the case here with such a lack of professional heroes on call. But again, Deku was partially encased in this massive pillar of ice. Shoto from above would then call out to Deku and tell him that the way he is right now, he could be playing right into All For One's hands, which is definitely a possibility, and that he could furthermore take this chance to attack Yue. That after all this time, after all this searching, Deku has not been able to find the guy, so perhaps a different plan is in order. That instead of leaving completely, he could stay by its side and defend it, as he would then beg his friend to let them fight alongside him. But oh man, All For One was at this point living in Deku's mind rent-free, as his words about Deku being next would just chime throughout his head, causing Deku to outright refuse this prospect once more. That more than anything, this was a battle between One For All and All For One, as he straight up looked like a monster here, saying that the rest of them could not keep up. And he's honestly not wrong. And what's interesting to me is that Shoto was literally born to compete with this power, but is way out of his depth. But as Deku leapt away, Sue would swing her elongated tongue, which Deku would manage to evade by jumping over it, in mid-air mind you. However, this was not actually an attempt to grab Deku, but rather a misdirect, with Mineta on the end of it with a new super move, Grape Chain, as he would latch onto Deku and tell him that he never thought his power was all that special. That what actually made him admire Deku and respect him was that even when he was covered in sweat and shaking in fear, he still found a way to lead them to victory, dating all the way back to the USJ incident. A sentiment Deku would have to close his eyes to, as he would push Mineta off with Black Whip and place him elsewhere on a rooftop as he would apologize. From there, he would begin to kick up his feet and prepare a combination of Fajin, Black Whip, and One For All 45% to once again achieve a faux One For All 100%. But before he could, URARAKA would fall downwards towards him. She would yell out his name and say that things were not like before, like when Bakugo got captured and they weren't prepared to save him. But before she could say anything else, Deku would close his eyes again and rush off, cutting her off mid-sentence. Talk about cold. Uraraka would then call out to everyone else as they were all prepared to give chase. Mina would make use of a new, virtually non-corrosive version of Acid Man that could be provided to others, and the rest of them all worked together like a bunch of Six Flags employees to get this crazy combination move going. They all had so much they wanted to say to him, and for me at least, it's pretty crazy that they needed all of this just to keep up with the guy. Saying that he is in another league isn't even fair at this point. They're not even playing the same game. But even still, they weren't seeking to be protected by him, and they couldn't deny that what he desired made sense. They simply wanted to embark on this journey alongside him. And at this point, Bakugo to himself, as he soared upwards, would think that there was just so much that he wanted to, no, that he needed to say to this guy. Which is interesting to me. I'm wondering what Bakugo could possibly want to say to Deku here that is so pressing, that he probably hasn't already heard. And I mean, maybe he wants to apologize for all the past times and what have you, but is this exactly the right time? I don't know. But regardless of this, he knew that the only one whose body could withstand this sort of speed among them was Ida. And again, we would have a shot of the second possessor as Ida would grab hold of Deku's hand mid-air, and both of their costumes were absolutely falling apart at this point. And I mean, Deku was just hysterical here, telling Ida to let him go, but truthfully, there was no way that he could, as Ida would have no way of sticking that landing, so Deku's pretty much stuck with him. Ida would then say that Ingenium is a hero that will run anywhere to grab the hand of a lost child, a sentiment that he had adopted from his older brother and idol. But would then say that sticking your nose into other people's business is what makes a true hero, a sentiment he had received from Deku when he had intervened and saved him from the hero killer, as the tears would flood Deku's eyes now, and that was the chapter. Guys, this was all so very touching, as they all truly care about Deku so deeply, making this a pretty good follow-up to the chapter prior. However, I must admit that although all these kids working together is cool, seeing them do all these super moves together shows how far they have come as a group collectively, it does actually also make them look a lot worse when it comes to keeping up with Deku. I mean, it has been made expressly clear to us through this all that the entire class combined cannot even hold a candle to a thoroughly exhausted Deku. And imagine if he was actually swinging on him. It would be a whole different story. This would be done in a couple of panels even, at that. So when they say that they would like to run alongside him, it just sounds a little ridiculous. And I'm not talking about story implications or necessities here, just in regards to physical capabilities. Deku surely needs a bath and a bit of rest, but beyond mental comfort, these guys aren't really ready for prime time, I don't believe. Maybe in regards to the riffraff, but certainly not when it comes to the apex of enemies. But whatever, the power of plot armor is greater than any quirk, am I right? So I hope you enjoyed the video and are willing to subscribe to Plot Armor to enjoy plenty more to come. You can also follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at PlotArmorYT to keep up to date with all that we do. And if you're enjoying the My Hero Academia manga and want to get your hands on the physical volumes as well, well, the best place to do that will be at RightStuf.com, which we have an affiliate link for in the description below. And listen, this is not a partnership that we were approached with, this is one that we sought out ourselves. This is something that we wanted since before the channel even came to be. We've been using RightStuf for years now, and it truly has some of the best deals on manga you are going to find anywhere on the internet. So please do yourself a favor and check it out, because when it comes to bringing you some of the best My Hero Academia content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.